Hey guys, welcome back to the last video for week 5. So wrapping things up here. So this week we dived into this section of live for the first time. So we've started using audio effects. Now we've only looked at a few audio effects today, but like I said to you, there are thousands, and I'm not just talking about within Ableton. There are so many extra plugins and effects that you can get online that you can really pretty much do anything to sound itself. And that's one thing as you gain more experience as a producer, is to try not to go too crazy with buying extra plugins. There are a lot of useful ones out there, and I do use quite a few very handy ones. But there's also a lot out there that you just don't need, that honestly Ableton does it itself. So as we get later into the stage of this course, I'll cover those plugins in a little more detail, which ones I like to use, which ones I find that are actually handy, and then also there's a lot out there which Ableton itself is quite capable and powerful at doing. So that was this week. We also looked at automation for the first time. So now we know that we can change values over time. And this is going to add a lot to our tracks. It's going to make it a lot more different. Rather than just playing the same pattern over and over again, the same sound. Now we can change aspects of sound. We can automate audio effects, volumes, all that sort of stuff. If you are using Ableton instruments, feel free to also automate these parts. I only went into the effects today, so it's just a reverb delay and a bit of the auto pan. But feel free to automate this as well. Like, there's stuff down here that could add a completely different effect and feel to your track. So let's see what this old radio one does. Yeah, so that gives a cool effect as well. So you can automate that over time, exactly the same way we automate everything else. You can change this, do whatever you want to it. So if you're using Ableton instruments, definitely don't overlook all the other little macros that they set up for you. So you can automate all of those as well. So that's your homework for this week, is basically take what we learned today and apply it to your own track. So start adding an automation to your track, play around with the reverb, the pan, the delay, all those different settings, mess around with different settings in each of those. Turn off the sync and see if you can get some cool effects with the time here. And also play around with the ping pong if you want as well. So just get comfortable with using those effects and just start adding in automation to add a bit of flavor to your track, so it's not so linear. It makes it less boring as well. If things are constantly changing in your track, constantly evolving, that's what's going to keep the listener engaged. If it was just the same sound over and over again, chances are they're going to get bored of it quite quickly. But using automation, we can keep the listener interested and listening to the track. So that's pretty much it for this week. Play around with that. Progress your track even further. Hopefully it's starting to take a little more shape now and look something like what I've got here. So it's starting to look a bit more like closer to a finished project now. We've got audio effects in, we started automating, we've got our full structure in place. And soon, before you know it, you're going to have a completely finished and polished original track that you can call your own. So next week, I'm going to introduce you to effects. Now, I don't mean these audio effects. I mean as in commonly spelt FX. So these are extra sounds that are going to add a lot more depth to your track. And I'll also be going over fills as well. So just some extra things to help your arrangement move along. But yeah, that'll be week 6. And then next week will officially be over the halfway point. So I hope everything's been valuable for you so far. Yeah, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Keep chipping away at your tracks when you can, when you have some spare time. Whenever you're feeling creative, don't be scared to pull it up. And even if you don't actually work on your track, but you just mess around with some beats or audio effects that we've learnt. And then yeah, next week we'll come back to gaining more knowledge. So enjoy your time between now and then, and I'll speak to you guys next week.